safety coach here, I was told that those communication issues didn't happen. And that by rehiring you, it virtually ensures that it won't happen, like as it did last year.
I can't take credit for that, but I know that that is a huge focus on our process now. It's just to make sure that the communication is streamlined, the givers and the receivers with the communication understand exactly what's going on, so we can make sure that we have a chance to have success on that play.
Minkah talked about being, everyone, when I say thumbs up, the other guy says thumbs up, thumbs down, matching that. How do you guys work on those kind of communication fixes this early in the offseason?
Again, it's a main source of how we can have any success on any given play. I always kind of use the analogy of Monopoly. And if you land on the chance square, then you have a chance at really anything. But at least you have a chance. And so great communication just simply gives us a chance. It doesn't necessarily guarantee to us having success, but we know that if we give good verbal and nonverbal communication to make sure that we're all on the same page, we have a chance of executing success on that given play.
Gerald, what excited you about coming back?
I mean, a lot of the things with the people that I had experienced prior, obviously with Coach Tomlin and his leadership and the things that I've learned with my time here, and ultimately some of the players. It's just another great opportunity to have one of these 32 jobs, more specifically for this franchise and for these people.
The younger guys, especially too, were very excited that you were back. We talked to Cory, talked to Joey, and they were like, "Hey, we're so happy that guy's back in the room." How excited are you to work with those guys as young players again?
Extremely excited. Obviously I saw these guys as pups, and obviously got a chance to observe what their progression was as I departed to go to my little internship in Vegas. But just to come back and to just help them out in their career where they are and continue to build them and develop them at this stage, man, it's a very exciting opportunity that I'm grateful for.
Do they look like different players now?
I mean, yeah, a little bit physically, but ultimately there's a process to having whatever it is as you try to develop them for this 2025 season. And so those are the things that we're looking forward to as far as building their technical, their fundamental things, and obviously their football intellect as they're out there on the field.
How do you get more out of it? Joey's talked about cleaning up the penalties. How do you focus with him on just the technique? Is it a trust thing? Is it a technique thing? A little bit of both? How do you kind of clean that up?
There's a little bit of both. I mean, there's a process to having success within a given play, and obviously not dealing with an error of penalizing yourself due to maybe a lack of technique, maybe within the route. And Joey does a great job. I think he's one of the elite guys at the line of scrimmage as far as disrupting releases and getting hands-on and stuff like that. And so it's really post that. It's not necessarily getting aggressive beyond that combative stage within that 5 yards, and now it's just time for just to trust his transition, trust his process, trust his coverage ability, and then obviously when he's in a position to be able to defend the ball down the field, it's getting his eyes up and challenging that and going for the ball instead of trying to think about how do I keep the receiver from not receiving the ball.
How do you get more splash out of Minkah this year? Last couple of years, he really hasn't made the interceptions or the splash plays that you made in the past.
I mean, a lot of that is not necessarily dealing with the chasing of the results, but just how do we continue to master the process that puts him in positions to make plays. And a lot of that comes with alignments, assignments, being a great communicator, whether it is putting himself or his teammates in positions at success or for whatever the opportunity presents itself. And then when those techniques and those opportunities align, that's when splash plays happen. And so I'm not in the process of trying to chase results for Minkah or really for anybody. It's really an opportunity to just develop the details that come with the responsibilities that we have that will lead to the results that we seek.
You're a very vocal coach. Last week we got to see, I saw you pressing guys to make sure you were setting up disguises, and hey, you're telling guys like, hey, you're not making me believe that you're in man. How have you seen these guys respond to that style of coaching versus what they were used to before?
I can't, comment on anything that they were used to before. I just know that, in order for anything to get done, and I know Chris Peterson used to say this all the time when I was a GA in Washington, to do anything great takes a lot of passion and a lot of energy in order to get what you got to get done. And so that's what I try to display out here and just give them the understanding of the urgency of how we got to get things done in a timely manner so we can move on to hopefully higher levels of conversation and execution as we continue to go through this journey.
Did you know that about half of Joey's penalties last year were with his gold gloves on?
No, I didn't know anything about that. Is that like a first place thing? Like gold gloves?
I don't know, but the gold gloves stand out on white and black and dark, and I'm just wondering if that was an easy correction.
No, I mean, it has nothing to do with the gloves. It has everything to do with just the process and how he goes about whatever his technique is at any given play, and so that's what we're trying to fix. Some of the things that he does at the line of scrimmage, again, are things that are, at least in my opinion, are elite. And it's just everything after that we have to just make sure that he cleans up, regardless of whatever color gloves he wears.
Whatever the refs can see, though. I think that's what's behind that theory.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I would have to ask the refs what they see.
I think 14 of his called penalties came in 4 games. I think he had like 17 overall, 14 of them were in 4 games. Is it a mental thing for him too, or it snowballs? Is that part of the discussion with him, or is it just maybe a certain type of receiver that gives him trouble, or is it just happenstance that happened?
I mean, whatever happened, it happened, whatever the process is. I know that what we're trying to do right now is how do we eliminate those things? And a lot of the elimination of those things comes in the form of how do we develop and continue to detail some of the technique. And that's within covering the route. The top of the route transitions or routes going down the field, making sure that we get our eyes back and playing the ball and not necessarily playing the receiver, especially when we're in good positions to do so. So some of that stuff can be mental, and some of the things that I always say is, you want to play to win versus playing not to lose. And so I try to get those guys to understand the mentality that it takes in order to be able to play the ball down the field and not so much worry about if the receiver catches it. And you're not thinking about failure. You're thinking about how do I put myself in position to finish this play versus preventing him from making it.
We were talking to TA a minute ago. He was explaining how 4x1 and bunches are really trending right now in the league. How much have you guys put an emphasis on that through camp, and what are some of the things that challenges that presents for a defense?
Well, it's trendy, and every 4x1 and empty, a lot of the times they require some type of schematic adjustments or some type of communication between members in the secondary and even involving linebackers. And so you have to put an emphasis on those things because those are things that are going to show up in a variety of different calls. And so those are the things that we've done, again, trying to think about the communication and making sure that that's solid and understanding the next step in the process before it even happens, if they motion to it or they adjust to it. Again, just making sure that everybody's on the same page so we can have a chance at success.
How do you think the addition of Darius Slay is going to impact the defense?
I think you have a guy that's got, a veteran leadership and some of the intangibles that he brings just with his presence in the meeting room, out here on the field. And then obviously he's still a very productive player in his own right. And so I think he's a great addition to what we're trying to build here in the secondary.
What's he showing physically and conditioning-wise, 34-year-old guy?
That he's in shape and he's ready to perform for whatever we need him to do in the 2025 season.
Is there value to having a guy with a ring in the room?
I mean, it is when you maybe have an opportunity to speak to him about, some of the things on his journey that, he did or whether he was a part of. And obviously there's so much experience that he had last year that may be beneficial to maybe, our development or some of the things that we want to continue to emphasize. But, right now that ring really doesn't mean anything to us. We're chasing something different. And that was something that obviously he experienced. But, if and when there's opportunities to lean on that experience that he had last year, we will.
Do you think having him and Joey can kind of help Minkah a little bit more as well, just have 2 man coverage guys?
I mean, it all depends on some of the things that we call, and so where do we utilize Minkah's skill set based on some of the guys who can match up on the perimeter, but that remains to see based on some of the schematic things that we have planned on doing this season.
How do you kind of break down your slot room right now? Beanie, Dante, a few other guys in there, and how comfortable are you with that depth chart?
I'm comfortable because it's going to create the competition that we're looking for to see how it all sorts itself out. You got a lot of capable guys who are in, this camp and obviously even going into Latrobe that look to come out to see who can be in a significant role for us in that slot, but we'll see.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.